What is the crack, folks? This is episode number 90 of the Gym Advisors podcast with myself, Andy Collard, and today we're going all the way down to Cork to chat to Meg Brady. Meg, how the hell are you?
Hi Andy, how are you doing?
I'm good. Delighted to have you on. It's a nice sunny day down there by the looks of things.
It is, it's lovely down here now. Big change to the storm there that we had last week.
Yeah, it's been I got hit by three fucking awful ones the past couple of days, and that'll kind of timestamp this for anyone who's listened to it in the future. Come here, Meg. Look, I'll do the exact same thing that I do with everyone else that comes on the podcast. Get you to tell us a little bit about yourself. So, look, tell us about yourself. Tell us what we need to know about you.
What do you need to know about me? God, it's a very hard question to answer. Like when it's put to you like that, isn't it? I suppose, from a fitness point of view and stuff like that, I'd be quite new to it in the sense that when I was younger, I was never into sports. I was never into fitness. I was always the girl who, you know, the best possible way that I could be signed out of PE or like, you know, just no interest. I was never on like the local GA team or anything like that. But I suppose through my own journey, I ended up kind of finding the gym and fitness, and as opposed to sports, more kind of like feeling good in yourself. So I don't know how far back do I go? Where do I?
Well, look, let me come back to it. So, like, you when you were in school, you were kind of the one who was trying to get out of PE, all that sort of stuff. When did that change? Like, when did you decide, or when did you think I need to start moving here, or when did you kind of start to fall in love with just fitness before it ever kind of crossed your mind about it becoming a profession? You know.
Well, I would have always been, like, I'm quite small. I'd be knocking on the door of 5'2", but really I'm not. Like, let's call it a spade. I'm not, like, but on a good day I might be, but I have always been, like, always very small, obviously. So I've always been one to, if I was carrying weight, you could see it. And when I was in school and stuff, it didn't really bother me. You know, you kind of wore a bigger jumper and a bigger shirt and stuff like that. It didn't, you know, it was fine. I was aware of it, but it was never kind of an issue. And then I went through college and all that kind of thing. And then I moved to Dublin in 2018. And at the same time, when I went up there, I decided that I was going to become a vegetarian for no reason other than it was kind of cool at the time. And it wasn't really, like, I know this sounds bad, but it wasn't really like a whole animal rights thing. It was just more like it was easier to batch cook food. I was working in a job where there was a couple of other girls who were kind of trying it at the same time. So I was like, oh, sure, you know, might as well. So I decided that I was going to become vegetarian and I was going to be really, really good at it. I was going to eat like all the healthy foods and all that kind of thing. But I didn't understand food, nutrition, calories. I just knew that when you became a vegetarian, everyone's first question is, where are you going to get your protein from? I didn't know why that was a question. I didn't know why protein was important. I just knew you needed to look at your protein. So I was going down the route of making, like, you know, chickpea curries and lentil, whatever you have. So I was like inside, I remember being inside the shops, I'd pick up the can of chickpeas and I'd be like, okay, right, 100 grams of chickpeas gets you 7 grams of protein. So if I need 30 grams of protein in this meal, that means that I need to eat the whole tin of chickpeas. Okay. So I would put the whole tin of chickpeas into it. And then I would also put that with a curry sauce and with a load of rice. So suddenly I had like an 800 or 900 calorie meal because I was reaching my 30 grams of protein. I didn't know where the rest of the calories came from. So I put on an awful lot of weight in a year when I was living up there. Well, actually, that's a lie. I didn't put on an awful lot of weight when I was up there because I was walking to work. But then I came back to Cork and I continued the same lifestyle. And then I put back on all the weight because I was inside in an office and I'd say I was getting like 600 steps a day, maybe 1,000 on a good day. Like I was doing very, very minimal activity. And I put on an awful lot of weight very quickly. Which up until that point, it was never really, as I said, I kind of would have been susceptible to carrying weight, but it was never really a massive problem for me until that kind of happened. And then I am into motorsport and rallying. So I navigate for stage rallies.
Oh
so
my
I sit
God,
in and call the
that's
notes.
unreal.
Yeah, so sit in, call the notes, whatever. The driver goes whatever way you tell him to go, and that's about the long and short of it. So I was doing a championship in 2019 with a friend of mine, and we did our first rally in February, and then in March we did the West Cork Rally, which is based in Clonakilty. So that would be my local rally, that would be my club rally. And that's happening again in a couple of weeks' time. And I'm really excited for that because there hasn't been a rally for 2 years with COVID. Or the West Cork at least hasn't run for 2 years with COVID. So was doing that rally anyway. We did quite well in our class. We came second in our class and we were in great form. We were out that night. We were having our drinks. We were celebrating, got our trophies, all that kind of thing. And I remember hating the dress that I had on me. I hated it. I was having a great time. Like we were celebrating and we were all having fun and everyone was bouncing off each other, but I absolutely hated what I was wearing. I remember wearing a dress with black tights, and the dress did not need tights, but I wore tights because I could pull them up and it would keep me kind of pulled in the whole way down. So that was kind of that. And I wouldn't say that was a turning point for me, but I remember like that was the last time that I was very, very uncomfortable in my clothes. And about a month later, a friend of mine came to me and she said, look, a local guy who would actually have been a couple of years below me in school, and I would have never known him. I would have just known who he was, but I wouldn't have known him. So he was a personal trainer and he was running a competition that 8-week best transformation. So my friend said to me, would you come with me and would we do it together? Now, I don't know to this day, did she just want me to go with her because we were just doing something together, or was it because she knew that I needed a push? I don't know where it came from, but either way, we did that. And I would be lying if I said I fell in love with it straight away, because I didn't. But I did in the 8 weeks notice a big difference. And after the 8 weeks, I decided that I was going to continue with him on my own. So I continued with him maybe once a week. Then for the next 8 weeks, I might go to him twice a week. Then I might go for 3 sessions a week. Then I came back to 2. It would just depend on the time of year and how things are going and stuff. And about 6 months later, then I was like a different person. So let's say we came back on then to November, and we were at another rally below in Bantry. And I remember talking to a guy at the bar afterwards, and he said to me, it was so funny thinking back on it, he said to me, do you and your father share a rally suit? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, that it's just, your suit's way too big for you, like. And I said, no, I said, that's my suit. He said, yeah, your suit's too big, you need a new one. Whereas like before, that suit would have, like, it was always a little bit baggy on me because it's a man's suit, so it was built for a taller person, but it was never like huge, and to the point then that he was like, you need a new suit, like it's, so that much of a difference was after happening to me in that space of time. And then
it's such a, like, it's a compliment, like, well, whatever way you want to take it, it's a compliment, I suppose, but like, just the idea of like your rally suit being the item of clothing that someone notices a difference in.
Yeah, but it was just so, do you and your dad share a suit? And he had a couple of drinks in him at that stage, and I know he didn't mean anything by it, but it was like, do you and your dad share a suit? I was like, no, like that's a really weird question to ask. But anyway, then at that stage, then I went and I actually joined the gym myself, and I started going a couple of mornings a week, and I really, really got into the routine of getting up in the morning, going to the gym. I was having my shower, going into work. I was having all my meals ready, and it was like a brilliant routine that I was in. And then I kind of did that for like, let's say the following year. And I went through the whole thing of, okay, I need the next step. I need to do, a bulk. I need to do a cut. I kind of came a bit more integrated into it that way. And then COVID came and we were back working from home, and I actually got an opportunity then to join the Elite Coaching College. Well, they're actually have to change their name now, but it was Elite Coaching College at the time, to join their course in Cork that they were running. So I went and I joined in with that, not really thinking that it was going to be for anything other than my own knowledge. And right. I'd say about the second week that I was there, I was like, oh my God, like I'm actually good at this. Like I actually understand it, and it actually sets a fire under me. Like I understand what it is that he's talking about, and I understand why everything that he's saying is why I ended up going through the process that I did. Like I understand why it worked. I understand the science behind, or I enjoy understanding the science behind why my journey went the way that it did. And then the things like, let's say you had to stand up and do like your demonstrations, and to teaching the other people in the class how to perform the exercises and all that type of thing, like that just came to me like second nature. Like I was just able to just spurt it out, and it was a really, really good feeling. And I was like, I'm actually able to do this, and I want other people to understand why this works. But I knew I was never, like, when I went into the class on the first day, I was like, I'm way out of my depth here. Like, there's people here who have done photo shoots. There's people here who are going to be stepping on stage. I was like, I was just normal, you know, by comparison to them. And then I was kind of like, no, do you know what? There's so many people that are never going to be like them. They don't want to step on stage. They don't want to do a photo shoot. They don't want to be a bikini model. They just want to go from the person that you were 4 years ago to the person that you are now, or somewhere in and around. Like, everyone has their own why in between. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. I decided then I was gonna, in August last year, I finished up inside my job. I was in an office and I finished up inside my job, and I went out on my own online coaching. And I have had male clients, but primarily my interest is just helping normal women, like your moms, your working professionals, students who just don't have a routine, or they know what they want to do but they don't quite know how to take that first step. And I want to be just that person who helps them, and I suppose anything that just makes them just feel just that little bit better, that they don't hate that dress, or they don't wear the tight underwear to pull them in. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe they do, but they feel slightly better doing it than they did this time 6 months ago.
Meg, honest to God, we genuinely could leave the podcast there. I absolutely love everything. No, John, I honestly, everything you've said there really sums up who you are as a person, who you are as a coach. It's incredible. And to just, I do want to dive deeper into the a good few areas that we talked about there, but like in particular the end part there of the kind of person you want to work with, because like the words you use there of not everyone wants to do a photo shoot, not everyone. Fuck all people want to do a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Fuck all people want to step on a show, step on a stage and do a show. So that's 95, 96, 97% of the people that come into the industry are people like yourself, the people like that you can help like that. And I think the more people we have focusing on them and then bringing them to a new level is like I said, the more good people we have doing that, the better the industry will be. And that's why we're doing what we're doing with the Gym Advisor. Second thing I want to touch on that you mentioned at the very start was you're a short arse from a fellow short arse. I need to do a virtual high five through the screen here. We've got to fight for each other here as well, so that's another thing. But then in terms of like, I just love you said you weren't sporty at the start, but you do or have done rallying for, I presume, for a long time by the sounds of things. Like what made you fall in love with that? Is that something you've just always been around, or what's the crack with it?
Well, that's my dad's fault.
The guy who you share a suit with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's my dad's fault. It's been a thing since I can remember. Anything that has an engine and wheels are all about it. Now, I'm not going to pretend in any way that I'm any shape or form of a mechanic or anything like that. I don't want to be able to fix the car. I just want to be able to make the car go fast. That's all I care about. So it's a bit of an adrenaline thing, I suppose. And there's a nice community around it as well. And some people think it's mad. And some people don't associate it as being typically sporty because there's no ball and there's no team involved. Well, I mean, there is a team, but not in the conventional sense of, you know, like when you're playing a soccer match or whatever. But the team would be like, you've obviously got you're in the car with your driver, or you're in the car with your navigator, and then you've got the people who actually got you there. So you've got like your crew that are back in the pits, I suppose, if you were looking at like from a Formula One point of view. But like, you know, if you're inside in the service park, so usually what happens is you have a set. Do you know how it works? No,
very little. Feel free to inform me. I'm like to learn.
It's a road, a normal road that everybody drives on, gets closed. A certain section of the road, and the road is closed. Nobody can, like, people in their houses are told you must stay in for the day or you must leave for the day, but you can't get out. And you basically arrive at the beginning of the section of road, and at usually 30-second intervals, sometimes it's a minute, but it's usually 30-second intervals, each car is let go, and it's you drive from point A to point B as fast as you can, and the person who does it the fastest wins. So you go and you do, let's say, 2 or maybe 3 of those road sections, and then you go back to your service and you get a cup of tea, or you change your tires, or you get fuel, or whatever it is you need to do, and then you go back out and you do it again. So it's kind of split up throughout the day, and it does take place kind of across the whole day, and it's usually within like a localized area. So you have like your section of road, and then you have a little bit you have to drive like a normal person, like a normal car with the traffic, and then you get to the next section of road and you drive like crazy, and then you drive back to
But you mentioned in terms of it being an adrenaline rush. You see the videos of it, and like I've only seen like I've never attended a rally, but I've seen highlights obviously on TV or whatever. I can imagine the adrenaline pumps regardless of whether you're driving, whether you're navigating, whether you're just a fan on the side of the ditch or whatever. It's an incredible sport to look at, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And as you said now about being the person at the side of the ditch, like it's when you explain it to someone and if they don't get it, it's kind of crazy because they're like, why? But it you can't explain it unless you understand it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're saying there now is spot on. You're the person who's standing on the side of the ditch, and you only see the car for 2 seconds. Like it's not like
Yeah.
you're at a track. It's not going. Or you only see the car for 2 seconds, and then 30 seconds later, there's another one, and then there's another one, and then there's another one, and then there might be a gap, and you're going, "Oh God, what happened?" And then two cars come together because maybe somebody tried to pass somebody out, or somebody was going faster than the other, and he's actually catching up to him. Do you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a different one, but it's very very enjoyable.
It sounds like it. And
Yeah.
people who are watching on YouTube will see that in your face. You're smiling away and you're looking off, and I can see you're dreaming of being in the passenger seat right now. It's
Yeah.
more comfortable than me asking you questions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But come here. Like I said, as you were chatting through earlier on about your story, your history with kind of going from someone who didn't want to do PE to where you are now, I jotted down a few notes here. And one thing that I have here is the words trying to do good. So you said you had kind of you were trying to make a change in terms of it was popular to become a vegetarian or whatever, but you're at the core of that was you trying to do something good, trying to make a change to your body, to your health, to your lifestyle, whatever. But it didn't go well because you didn't have the knowledge behind it. Maybe
Hmm.
is that something you find where people have, like, when people come to you that they kind of say, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and all they're trying to do is change a little bit here and there, but they just need that little bit of guidance from someone who kind of, like you said, understands the science behind all these things. Do you
Yeah.
find some comes to you and they have all the great intentions, but just haven't kind of it delivered on them,
100%. Like, I mean, that time now when like I used to make gorgeous food. Like I used to make really, really nice food. I used to bring it in. The girls would be like, "Oh, that looks really good. Can I try it?" You know, "Oh, you had that yesterday. You have it again today. It must be really nice." Like it was all fresh. It was all good food that I was eating. But as I said, it just didn't match up. Like I was eating way too many calories for the amount of energy that I was expending, and that was it. And a lot of people don't get that. They start off with me and they'd say, sometimes you've got people who are like ridiculously fussy and they're like, I
Mm.
don't like vegetables, I don't like whatever, and you're like, okay, right, fair enough, that's one issue. But then, well, it's not even an issue, it's just something that you have to work with. But then you've got people who are like, no, I eat really healthy food and nothing is a problem for me. I'll eat whatever it is you put in front of me. And then some people are kind of saying like, I don't eat breakfast and I feel like I need to go keto, or I've tried keto before and it worked for 3 weeks, but then I got really tired, so I started eating carbs again. And I'm kind of going, okay, maybe if we take the approach of you're in this for the long haul, like if someone comes to me and they kind of say, look, I've got a wedding there in 8 weeks, I'm kind of going, okay, right, look, we'll try your best to get you for the 8 weeks. But if you're gonna just do the 8 weeks and then go away, I'd actually rather not that I don't want to be associated with you, but I would rather help you in a way that you don't need me after the 8 weeks again. That you don't go for 8 weeks and then after another 8 weeks you're like, oh fuck, I need to come back again. Do you know,
Mm.
like I would rather you are with me for, let's say, the long haul, 6 months, whatever it is, but then you don't need me anymore. Personal
Mm.
training sessions are different, that you can still come and you can still, do your sessions and push yourself once or twice a week or whatever it is. But the initial starting out, getting yourself into your lifestyle, your habits, sorting out your food, making smarter choices, you need to take a little bit of responsibility yourself as well, that you are actually learning as things go along. Like I've two girls now that come to me, two girls that are very, very good friends. And I kind of say to them, I could pick any exercise. I could say to them, okay, and they go, oh, is that the one where? And I'm going to go,
Mm.
yes, it is. And that's brilliant because you're actually listening. And that means that in 6 months' time, you'll be able to go into a gym and do this on your own.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like it's an education thing as well. It's teaching people, not that they just, eat this and you lose the weight. And then once they're done, they put it all back on again. It's like,
Yeah.
well, no, because that okay, like it means you've constantly got business coming in, but that's not really the end goal either. You know, like the end goal should be to work with somebody for however long it is that it takes. Once they're done with you, they're done with you. Do you know what I mean? That they've taken exactly what happened with me, that you do it for the time to work your way through it. You don't do the quick fix. You work your way through it. And then you get to a certain point where you go, if you know how to lose weight, you don't need to worry about putting it back on.
Yeah.
Because if you do put it back on, you'll be able to lose it again. And it's not that you're going to be, we won't be skinny forever. Christmas happens, birthday happens, you go on your holidays and stuff like that. But it's okay to put on weight if you understand how to lose it again.
I love that, and anyone who's listened to this, who's listened to other podcasts of this, or episodes of this podcast, will know that like that's you've just explained why we have you on the site and why the Gym Advisors exists, is because we need more people like you thinking about the long haul, not wanting just that repeat business, the repeat business, wants to kind of just build a good business that helps people for the long term as well. And by doing that, you're going to have a career for as long as you want one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the way we approach it as well.
And I mean, I have the same coach that I went to the very, very first time back in April 2019. I still go to him and I still do my check-ins with him, and I might take a couple of months off and then go back to him again. He's great for the accountability, and it's kind of like, okay, what's the goal for the next 6 months kind of way, and you kind of tell him, and he at the like where I'm after getting to a stage with him now is it's kind of, okay, what did you do this week to work towards your goals, as opposed to him telling me what I need to do. And it just keeps you accountable. So like that kind of business will always be there. And that's brilliant, because they're the clients that you know, and they're the clients that trust you, and you trust them, and you see them through the good and you see them through the bad, and that's fine. But it's like, that's not what I mean by being done with somebody after 6 months. Like, if somebody wants to stay with you forever just because they like the accountability, that's fine. Like, you know, because as they're reliable customers, they're people who, you know, it's like when, I don't know, it's like a local shop. Like, you know that the person next door is going to buy the newspaper every single day. And they're going to walk in the door, they're going to buy the newspaper, and you are guaranteed that piece of business every single day. That's great, because you know that they're not going anywhere. But also, you need to have people who only need you for the set amount of time, and that then when they're done with you, you know that they're done, and that when they go off, they can talk about you in a year's time and say, I went to them and look what I did, and I'm still there.
Yeah.
Do you know? I'm still in the place that I want to be, or I'm after progressing a little bit more, and I check back in with her once every 6 months, or I'm going to be going on holidays there, so I'm going to do a 3-month run up to it, but I know that it's just the kick in the arse that I need. It's not necessary that I need to go back to the beginning and start again.
Yeah, it's the best marketing you can do, especially if someone is long term in good shape or in a good place, physically, mentally, all that sort of stuff. So it is the best marketing you can do, because they'll tell people, they'll see that they've been put in a position to succeed, and everyone's a winner in that regard.
I also think that, like, you have the people who you know that you're going to get that are going to get the longevity out of your services are the people who don't keep their fat clothes.
Oh wow, okay, that's a nice little kind of indicator, I suppose.
They go through their, like, losing weight can be expensive because you have to keep up with the clothes. You have to have stuff that fits you, and usually you'll do a haul of like summer clothes and winter clothes, and then the following year they won't fit you again. But when someone clears out 3 black bags of clothes that no longer fit them, it means they're not going to go back to those clothes. If someone puts those clothes in a box under the bed, they're kind of already setting themselves up for going back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a really interesting way of putting it. In terms of just a mentality towards it, I suppose. Do you find, even just as a kind of a practical tip, I suppose, do you find that if someone's got a reasonable, and I don't like focusing on fat loss or whatever, but like, since we're in that world that we're talking about, do you find that someone who has a decent amount of fat to lose, that you want them to obviously buy at different stages? So it's not like, well, I'm not getting rid of these clothes until I hit my exact target weight, and then I'll buy a heap of clothes. Basically, what you end up then doing is having 6 months, a year, or whatever, of kind of ill-fitting clothes. And like, is that another thing where it's kind of like, I'm not happy until I get to the exact point where they should be kind of enjoying the process, you
know? When my clients kind of start with me, 90% of them will have, I want to lose X amount of pounds, or I want to fit into this. And I'm kind of going, okay, that's fine, but let's not put a time on that, and let's see what happens in the meantime. And I think kind of 4 weeks is kind of a breaking point for someone when they're coming to you for personal training. 4 weeks is kind of a breaking point of somebody being like, I feel the differences. And 8 weeks is kind of the breaking point where they're like deciding if they're going to keep going with you or not. And 12 weeks is when other people start to notice it in them. When so they kind of, I don't know, does that really kind of answer your question? But like when people start to kind of come in then and they're still wearing the same clothes that they were wearing first day, and I'm kind of looking at them going like, that's too big for you. Like, you were here with me, because like obviously it takes a while for the clothes to go through the wash cycle or whatever. So maybe it might be let's say somebody has 4 t-shirts they're going to work out in, so it takes about 4 weeks for it to come back around. So it's kind of looking at them and kind of going, can you not see how loose that is on you? And they're like, yeah, I look good, you know. And they're kind of going, yeah, you look really good, but like, you're going to get to a stage now where you're going to start hating me because you're going to have to buy new clothes. And I kind of say to them, like, do that. Like, if you've got something coming up, you know, go and buy a dress that fits you, or maybe put on the dress that didn't fit you before, but don't go all out, because you are going to get to a stage where those ones are no longer going to fit you again. And the last thing you want is for somebody to continuously be going through, like, it is hard here obviously because of the seasons and stuff, but like, I don't know, does that really answer your question?
It does, but it's the same as everything else. There's a balance to it, so you don't want to
yeah,
be buying something.
That's it, it's the balance. It's kind of like, look, if you've got something up, like, buy maybe 2 pairs of jeans that fit you well, you know, like that, couple of pairs of gym leggings, couple of t-shirts. Your shoes are always going to fit you. Really important obviously for women that they're wearing like proper fitting bras and stuff, so that they've got like good support. But that's a big one that people come back to me with. They're like, my bras don't fit me anymore. I'm like, okay, you need to fix that. You know, get one that actually fits you properly, get one that supports you. But other than that, like, you know, wear the oversized t-shirt, it's all in. You know, that's what the fashion is at the moment. And then when the summer comes around again, into pennies, couple of tank tops, few pairs of shorts. They're not going to fit you, or they're not going to fit you. They're not going to be in season in a couple of weeks anyway. You know?
Just from the way you're talking there, then, like, your work, we talked about it a wee while ago in terms of like the 95% of people that you want to bring from point A to point B, rather than bringing someone from being really being really kind of in good shape to like elite or whatever. Like, why is it so important to you that you're working with people who are kind of like yourself, have a similar enough story, and you just want to kind of give them the confidence back?
Because it was me. That's why, because it was me. And I didn't know why it was happening at the time. I just knew that, because like as I said to you earlier on, I was eating good food. Do you know what I mean? I was like chopping up my peppers and my courgettes. I was putting in fresh veg. I was eating all the chickpeas and all the lentils and all that. I was eating the really, really good food. But I didn't know how to balance it out. You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking back on it now, even like saying it out loud, I was definitely eating 800 and 900 calories per meal by the time all the food was on the plate that I was eating, because I had to hit my protein. But nobody told me what that meant. I didn't know anything about whey protein. I thought that was like a steroid. Greek yogurt, it was this thick, sour yogurt that, like, yeah, you know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know any of that side of it. I just knew that, like, vegetarian protein sources, beans, lentils, pulses. What even is a pulse when you think about it? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just a fancy word. Nuts, they've got protein in them, yeah, but they're not a good source of protein. They have protein in them, but they're a good source of fat. So if you have however many, like, if you want to reach, let's say, 20 or 30 grams of protein in a meal, you have to look at like how much of the fat and carb content. And I'm not saying that those things have to be avoided, because they don't. It's just, I was picking up the label and I was looking at just the protein. I wasn't looking at what the rest of it was made up of. So in order for me to reach, if I needed 30 or 40 grams of protein, I was just multiplying the amount of servings until it reached that, but not looking at how much the rest of it was adding up. So thinking about it, like, I'm not surprised that, you know, and then when you're making your, like, I ate very little of like the corn and stuff like that. I did eat it, but very little of it. But like looking at like the food, like, and the food I used to make was really nice. Like, it was beautiful. Do you know, I like cooking. I used to make really, really yummy food, but it was really, really, it was high calorie and high nutrient, as opposed to being like, there was no volume in it as such. I had to put an
Mm.
awful lot of, I had to put an awful lot of calories on the plate in order to take up space. Whereas now I'm kind of looking at the point of taking up as much possible space as you can on the plate, with like your veggies and your, you know, your lean protein and things that, like, just understand what makes the calories in your food and where they're actually coming from.
It just goes to show that like a little bit of knowledge is a bad thing, because you obviously you heard about the, oh, you need to get your protein on, and that was kind of everything you focus on, and like it's not a world that is good for this, because like we uh, everything is boiled down to a headline, and you need to get your protein. Fat is bad, like all these kind of things that are just to, like, put it in a headline, put it in an Instagram post or whatever. And we sometimes the regular person is so bombarded with all these different conflicting headlines that you don't have a clue what to do. And
Yeah.
having that accountability of someone like yourself who went through all this, and then did the science, did the coaching bit for their own, like, which shows like how much you love the whole process of it. To get to that point is it just have, like, as you mentioned again, to tie it all together, to have that accountability is just so vital for someone, because we live in a world where you're just bombarded with information, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, but it's so hard to put together for like a regular person who hasn't gone and done a course or anything like that, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And like, as you said, now it's the accountability and it's the working your way through it. Like, when I started off, I was, let's say, the standard meal plan. And then as I was reading through it, like, the way the meal plan that that my coach presents to you is, he breaks it down like, this is your food, obviously, and then you've got the macros and the calories at the end. So when I kind of got into this, like, maybe I was probably about 4 months in, I started looking at like, why, what do those actually mean? So I asked him about it, and he was like, oh, this is how, like, he kind of sat down with me and he was like, this is what your food is made up of, talk me through it and everything. I was like, okay, right, in that case, so your meal plan says pasta, and I'm sick to death of eating pasta. So if I find out, let's say, another carb like potatoes or rice, how much roughly the same carbs is and the same calories, could I swap them out and make a completely different meal? He's like, yeah, of course you could. So I started doing that, swapping stuff out. And then suddenly then it was opened up into this whole thing of, that's kind of how I ended up going down the way of being able to do it on my own, because it wasn't, once the meal plan was taken away from me, what do I eat? It was this kind of thing of knowing the standard, like, what do your portion sizes look like? What does, how, like, let's say if you have a chicken fillet with your dinner, how much roughly of your protein are you getting for the day?
One thing I want to move on to then a little bit just before we finish up here, Meg, is I want to give people a feel for you, and kind of you've been really good on this podcast, and you've given a good uh, overarching view of your work. But let's get a little bit more specific. A client gets in touch with you through your Google Doc, through social media, through your profile on the Gym Advisors, they email you, to come up to you in the street. What can they expect in terms of how you bring them from point A to point B?
Well, I would find out from somebody, first of all, are they looking for online, or are they looking for personal training sessions, one to one? Everybody will get their, if they want, like, a sample meal plan of, like, you know, this is your calorie target for the day, or this is what I'd be recommending that you would, this is what you'd be recommending that you'd hit, and this is how you can hit it with this breakfast, this blah blah blah, and give them a couple of different options. Or you might have somebody who's a little bit more advanced and they know how to use, let's say, my fitness pal and stuff, and they can actually do all that side of it themselves. So I discuss that with them. And then we talk about if they want to do online, which is obviously very, very good for people who aren't local. You can work
Mm.
with anybody, like, from anywhere. Thing I don't like about it is you never really meet the person.
Mm.
Um, so it can be like, you, when you're doing the online coaching, you're really, really trusting the person on the other end of the check-in form. But you also learn very, very quickly who's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and also who, people hold, people won't lie to you, but they'll hold back
Yeah.
what they don't want you to know. So you kind of learn that very quickly. You kind of learn the different personalities of the clients very, very quickly. But so yeah, if you're doing online, then we do check-ins once a week. I've WhatsApp voice notes on the go all the time. and back and forth texts and stuff like that. And then people get their check-in form once a week and they get an update, as well as the kind of like, so you get like your lifestyle goals. So they'd be like, water, sleep, steps. I recommend X amount of workouts a week, and then I always say to people as well, if this changes, let me know, because if I'm building a program around someone who's telling me that they're doing 5 sessions a week and they're not doing it, like, that's fine. Like, I understand that life changes and you take up extra shifts in work or your child gets sick or whatever. That's fine. Let me know, just so I can change it, just so that I'm not creating a program for somebody that's not you.
We've talked about this. Sorry to cut across here, but we've talked about this before in the podcast, where it's like it makes no sense, but yet makes all the sense in the world that people hire you, pay you money to be their coach, and then don't give you the information you need to do your job correctly. It's as if they're kind of like, "Oh, I don't want to let Meg down." Like, the only way we're letting Meg down is by not giving her the information that she can use her expertise.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's such a strange mentality, and I don't think it's a unique one to or a rare one. I think it's common that we kind of like, oh, I don't want to disappoint our coach in some way.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're spotting the differences there. But continue. Sorry. Once you've had those chats, where are you going on to from there?
So yeah, we've decided if people want online or if they want online with the one-to-one. When it's with one-to-one, obviously I meet them a couple of times a week. They come to you once, twice, 3 times a week. And I have a studio then at home. It's a small room. I've got very, very basic equipment, but it's perfect for what we have because it's not overwhelming. It's not a gym feel. It's like it's a room in my house. Now, obviously, the intention is that it is going to become a bigger gym. That would be my hope. But right now, it's like I'm inviting you into my home. We work out in my house together, half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's like that, putting you in a position that, like, if you want to continue to come to me forever, that's great. But I want to get you to a place where you feel like you don't need me anymore. It's a bit like somebody learning how to drive. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's great if you want to call for a chat every week and we'll go through driving and all that kind of thing. But you shouldn't need me when all your lessons are done. You should come because you're enjoying it, not because you're going, I can't do this on my own. Do you know? And there is a difference there as well. And like that now, like that girl that said to me, is it this one? And you're kind of going, yeah, that's great, that's brilliant. Because I also know that when you're at home and you're doing your home workouts, that you know what you're doing. Whereas if I give you a workout plan, I didn't do this initially because I didn't have the gym. Whereas I'm doing it now. If I have somebody that's online only, I'll try to at least do a video call with them that we can run through what's on their home workout program or their gym workout program to be sure they know what it is that they're doing. Because other than that, you'll have somebody who's doing a workout that's completely pointless, but also they could get hurt, and that's not what you want. So, just to make sure that everyone kind of just knows what's going on, and just say to somebody like, ask the questions. Ask the questions. Are you feeling okay? Do you feel like you need to sit down? Do you want a drink of water? No. Okay. Are you comfortable? Is it too warm in here? Do you like the song that's playing? Stuff like that. It just make people comfortable, because they're already intimidated enough by being there. There's a reason that they're coming to you. And as I said, like the people that I'm working with, or the type of clients that I am trying to attract, are not people who know what they're doing. So they need to be comfortable. And I like to think that that's the kind of atmosphere that I'm putting in place for people. Bit of a laugh, bit of a joke, tell me about what's going on at home, where'd you go for your holidays, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you're learning something as you're here. You're working through the session. We're doing a really, really good session together. That's what it's about.
Really, really is. And before we go on to our songs, if we were to sum up your career, Meg, I would say you've gone from navigating rally drivers to navigating people's health, fitness, and whatever else with that. So I think that's everything you've done has been involved getting people where they need to be. So I absolutely love that. Do you have 3 songs that you want to add to our Spotify playlist, Meg?
Yeah, I'll give you 3.
Perfect. Shout away.
First one I'm going to give you is Calvin Harris, The Girls. David Guetta and Nicki Minaj, Hey Mama. And the last one is Rihanna, T.I., Live Your Life.
Class, Meg. Thank you very much for adding those. As I said, just search out the Gym Advisors playlist on Spotify, and whether you are banging out personal best, just going for long runs, or even doing a bit of, maybe not mindfulness, we have a bit too heavy music on it for that, but we have a load of eclectic music on there, and it's a really good playlist at this stage with all the songs we've added to it. Obviously, Meg, people can find you on thegymadvisor.e/Meg Brady Coach and contact you and find out all about you from there. But also, you're on social media like everyone else. Where can people find you?
So it's the same, Meg Brady Coaching on Instagram.
Cool. Meg, look, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. You have been class, and thank you very much for coming on. We'll have to do it again soon.
Thank you for having me.
It's been class. To the rest of you, though, as always, hasta la fitness, baby.